Hey, Bry. You are first. You're also second. You have the first two comments. Congratulations. Why don't you go for the... Hey, Scrapegoat. Sorry, Bray, you're too late to go for the trifecta. Scrapegoat beat you to bronze. Thanks, Scrapegoat. $7.23. It's $2.23 where I am. So you're UK, eh, Faiza? Hey, Rara. Favorite Bob Dylan song and album? Hey, Chibi. Yeah, you Brits. Hey, Matthew. Hi, Cassie. Hi, Mary. Anyway, favorite Bob Dylan song? I've never actually listened to an album, so I can't, I don't have a favorite Bob Dylan album. Favorite song? I don't really like Bob Dylan all that much, frankly. There's only, I only enjoy a couple of his songs. I really only like the big two songs by him. Like a Rolling Stone and Subterranean Homesick Blues. Hey, Vanna. Hot tub update. I still haven't used it. This has been your hot tub update. Hey, Houston. Bob Denver. Don't like any Bob Denver songs. Here's what's interesting. I don't like Bob Denver. I really enjoy Japanese covers of country roads. Going early. I mean, I don't want to get up early. I don't really want to go live before work. Who's Bob Denver? Houston? Yeah, that's how it's pronounced. That's how the street name is pronounced in New York. There's a street in New York, Houston. Who's Bob Denver? No, Bob Denver is the country roads dude. Anyway, yeah, as far as going early, I work until 2 in the morning. I'll be on at a regular time tomorrow. Tomorrow's my day off, so I will be on at a regular time tomorrow. Then I will be working Tuesday through Saturday. So, sadly, but then I'll have Sunday, Monday off. So, Sundays and Mondays will be my days where I'm on at human hours. Highway 61, favorite Percy song. Do I think no? I know Bob Dylan's. Huh? Oh, John Denver, right. Whoops. Wait, what did I say that made you think that I thought Bob Denver or Bob Dylan is British? What did I say? Because I know he's American. Mad Libs? Oh, right. We were going to do Mad Libs. Yeah, all right. Mad Libs tomorrow. Mad Lives. I have never watched Breaking Bad. But anyway, yeah. Yeah, Bob Dylan's not someone that I really that I ever really enjoyed. Bob Denver is Gilligan. Hey, Anunnaki. When I was a teenager, when I was going through my my phase of listening to classic rock, I did get like a Bob Dylan Greatest Hits album. So I liked him for a little while then, but then it's like, yeah, I don't actually really like this. Did I see Blink 182 with your mom jokes? No, because I don't like Blink 182. What are my favorite shoes? I don't really pay much. I just grab decent looking shoes. I should probably switch to more like I got ones that were like sort of appropriate for working in a you can send it later, Scapegoat. Penny loafers. Yeah. Should just get like a pair of I should just get a pair of sneakers. Just a pair of comfortable shoes. Never watched Sopranos, Wire, or Boardwalk Empire. I have not watched any HBO shows. All right, like if it's prestige TV, I haven't watched it. I don't watch I don't watch prestige shit. Give me give me silly little cartoons. Hi ho Cheerio. Can't say I played it. Better Call. No, never played Better Call. Never watched Better Call Saul. Trailer Park Boys is not my kind of humor. It is, you know. Yeah, I mean, it's just not my kind of humor. The characters just aren't personalities that appeal to me. Don't, I mean, it's it's personal preference. It's just personal taste. Never watched Workaholics, cartoon filmed in live action. Right, but I mean, it's a type of humor that just doesn't appeal to me. It is entirely down to personal preference. And I mean, maybe it's just maybe it's just the trail, the commercials that I saw for it. Just like it might be that hey, Farrell, it might be that just the commercials presented in a way that sort of that highlighted aspects that don't appeal to me, but grindcore or brutal death metal, nah. I listened to a little bit of heavy metal when I was a teenager, but it was like Metallica, Megadeth. Two bands that I kind of can't particularly stand anymore, frankly. Revenge. Thoughts on booty calls? Sure. Not something I've ever been interested in, but go for it. $10 to watch first two seasons. I'll pass. Yeah. $10? No. No. Shit. I don't know if I'd even be willing to watch the first episode for $10. Booty calls are good for any age, Rachel. And anyway, again, it's not. I'm not saying the show isn't funny. I'm saying that the bits of it I have seen is humor that does not fit my particular sense of humor. You're not wrong for enjoying the show yourself. I've just never been interested in it. So, yeah. Am I wrong for liking my so-called life? No. You enjoy what you enjoy. It's fine. Hey, AMC. Hey, AMC. Hi, AMC. I continue to like pronouncing names in weird ways. '40th anniversary figurines. Ooh. Well, congratulations to My Little Pony on that. What figurine did you buy? Did I watch any controversial shows? Hey, Color Purple. Not really. I mean, like, hey, Amy, the most Bluebell, one of the original, before my time. Like, I think like the most controversial show I've watched probably is My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic. Like, that probably is the most controversial show that I watch, realistically. Never watched Cops. Because a lot of people, it was controversial that 30-year-old dudes were watching My Little Pony. That was controversial. I got a terrible case of bluebells when you didn't go live last night. Sorry, Scrape Gather just didn't want to work. Didn't want to cooperate. I'm only a year older than you, but a little bit nervous when we were kids. Well, before I gave a shit about My Little Pony, then I only started watching it with Friendship is Magic. Like, I did not watch any. Like, I didn't watch any of the older shows. I didn't play with any of the ponies. I didn't have any of the figurines. So Friendship is Magic was my introduction to the franchise. I think the My Little Pony episodes I saw with my little sister years back lacked in quality rating and character development. Not sure what, I mean, depends. I mean, like, yeah, I mean, some of the series did get criticized for that. Friendship is Magic generally got well received. Like, was generally seen as you know, like Friendship is Magic was generally seen as fairly high quality for a kids cartoon. Some of the older ones, some of the older series were seen as just kind of shitty, like just half-assed and great deal of my little tension here. Purple. I mean, you know, it was probably Twilight Sparkle if it's you know if it's like if it's in the past decade. You know, if she got it to you in the past 10 years, then it probably would have been Twilight Sparkle. But who's their target audience? The target audience is young girls. That's the target audience, but actually, like the target audience is so. Actually, here's the thing: the target audience was the people making the show. They were their own target audience. Um, the studio, like for the studio, the target audience was young girls. For the creators, they were making something that they wanted to watch. You know, like they were out to entertain themselves while obviously making it child friendly. Creator, for again, for the Friendship is Magic generation, it was developed by a woman, Lauren Faust. Lauren Faust. She was the one who developed the Friendship is Magic incarnation, and she was the showrunner for the first season. She did leave after she did leave after the first season. I don't remember. Like, I'm not. I don't actually know who took over it after that as the showrunner. But as for who created the original My Little Ponies, couldn't tell you. I just liked watching Friendship is Magic. I didn't really delve deep into the franchise. Banned episodes of Mickey Mouse. I have not Anunnaki. Though, come to think of it, I don't know if I ever watched Mickey Mouse as a kid either. Like, I don't know if I've ever actually seen a Mickey Mouse cartoon. Nah, I don't like fishing. I don't like being out in nature. But no, I don't like fishing. I did it once, I think, and I was like, yeah, boring. Yeah, it's fine, Amica. No, not Wish and Tell, no. No, this is back in my. This would have been when I was like tweens, I think. My father took me. Boy, as I recall, it was actually kind of a shitty little fishing spot. Like it wasn't even a good spot for fishing because it's Cornwall. I live in Cornwall. There's nothing worthwhile anywhere around Cornwall. There's nothing high quality anywhere in this area. Now, last time I saw him, I was 16. Pretty sure 16 was the last time I saw him. So, it's been 21 years, and yeah, it's fine. I am okay with it. hobbies. The stepfather? Nope. My mom was seeing this dude for. My mom did see this dude for a few years. I never liked him. Just never liked the guy. Like, he's just. Yeah. I don't believe that. I don't believe that there is good fishing in or near Cornwall. Yeah, not every part of Canada is the same as other parts. As food in Cornwall, it's food. There are some really good pizza places in Cornwall. There's like a Cornwall style of pizza. Really thick. Oftentimes, like the ingredient, like oftentimes, like some of the toppings will go like under the cheese. Like they'll put the cheese on top of the toppings. So, and it's like just really thick and often pretty greasy. Can make it tough to eat, actually, the way they do it. Because the yeah, because it's like dough toppings cheese. Whenever you're trying to pick it up, the toppings, like everything can, if you're not careful, everything will just like slide right off of it. Yeah, yeah, everything will just slide right off if you're not careful. Yeah, you actually have to be careful eating pizza here in Cornwall. It's good though. It is really good. It is really good pizza. Because like I said, so thick. Like it'll be like genuinely like half-inch thick slice or thicker. You know, you'll get like inch thick. Hey, no. Hey, NASA Jen. Hey, Uki. Don't bother Googling it. I don't care. I don't care. I don't even care if there's good fishing in Cornwall. I don't like fishing. King of Denair. I've never had Denair myself. Valley? Yeah. I don't pay any attention to Uki. Yes, once. And I didn't care for it, and I don't care to repeat the experience. I like thick pizza. It's good. Chicago. No, it's not a Chicago style. Chicago style is almost more. Chicago style pizza isn't even pizza. You know, like Chicago style deep dish pizza, it's not even pizza. I don't put seasonings on my pizza. Like I'm not saying deep dish is bad. I've never had it. I couldn't tell you if it's good or bad. Maybe it's maybe it's absolutely incredible, but it's not pizza. Good for your mental health. I would rather be depressed than to go fishing. one up of. The point is, I don't want to fish. I don't want to go fishing. Fuck fishing. Free food from fishing? I don't even like fish. I don't enjoy. I don't enjoy the taste of fish. Like, not particularly. Again, it's something I'll eat, but it's not something that I really want to eat. And the good fish is fish sticks. I do like fish sticks. Will not be in greatest catch. No, I will not. Fish and chips are good. Like fried. Deep fried fish is good. I kind of miss like really good. I miss good fish and chips. You know, like I got fish and chips from Connor's, and it was okay. Yeah, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't real fish and chips. Fish and chips over chicken and chips? Probably. I mean, how's the chicken prepared? You know, what kind of chicken are we talking about? Fried? I don't know. Hard to say then. Both are good. Would depend on my mood, I think. There are times, there are times I would pick fish and chips over fried chicken. Rotisserie chicken? Yeah, definitely go with the fish and chips then. I don't even like rotisserie chicken, honestly. You get a little bit of flavor on the outside, and then the inside is just pure fucking water. Do I eat at night? I mean, I junk at night. What's the zestiest thing I like? Your mom. I am not going fishing. Fishing is relaxing. You know what else is relaxing? Doing jack shit. Sitting around doing jack shit. Very relaxing. Reading's relaxing. Reading is very relaxing for me. Did I get shorter? Don't think so. I'm just sort of slouching in my chair a little bit. How tall am I? Just shy of 5'8". No fishing. Fuck fishing. Hey, Adele. Shrimping? Nah. I will sit here. That is what I will do. Hey, it's okay. This is my idea of a good time. Just sitting here in the air conditioning. I'm not sure what that is, but it's probably safe to assume that no, I have not. I suspect I have not crimped. My microchip? I mean, if I am, I'm not aware of it, so. Not to the best, not to my, not that I am aware of, Anunnaki. Curled? Like the sport? No. Never watched curling either. Hey, cheesecake. I know my mom and my brother both get really into curling every 4 years. During the Winter Olympics, they get into curling. As soon as the Olympics are over, they stop being interested in curling. Isn't curling Canadian? I'm not sure where it was created, but it is a sport that is very much associated with Canada. First played approximately late medieval Scotland. So it actually came out of Scotland. That said, it is most firmly established in Canada, having been taken here by Scottish immigrants. The Scots brought it to Canada, and we sort of ran away with it. Canada did also win the very first Scotch Cup, the World Championship for curling. Sport would I consider doing for fun? None. I'm not a sport person. Curling and bowling, you can drink and eat nachos, which makes them really kind of cool. True. What's my favorite Olympic sport? I've never, sports have never been something that particularly interests me. So yeah, I don't watch any Olympics shit or. Sorry. I'm just, I'm not a sport person. I like badminton. Chess. I did a little bit when I was young. I actually went to a couple meetings of the chess club at my at the library. Only a couple though. So no, I don't play chess. I haven't played it in forever. Spin the bottle. I don't have a bottle. And no. Dewey Decimal System? I mean, not really. Like I don't remember which, you know, I couldn't tell you what number corresponds to what genre or what type. Oh wait, or am I thinking Library of Congress? Wait, Dewey Decimal is just. Am I mixing up Dewey Decimal and Library of Congress? I am not. Okay. Okay, I was not. I was thinking Dewey Decimal. Anyway, yeah. Like I couldn't tell you what each number corresponds to. He was an OAO DuckTales, OEA DuckTales. But no, I'm thinking Tailspin. Whoops. OEO Tailspin. OEA Tailspin. Whoops. I never watched DuckTales. Banana bread, poppy seed muffins. Neither of them are things that I would eat. Name three cartoon ducks right now. Huey, Louie, and Dewey. Also, Uncle Donald. Also, Daffy. Um, oh, Plucky. Hey, Shirley. Plucky Duck was the one from Tiny Toon Adventures, right? Oh, also Daisy Duck. Name all three. Yakko, Wacko, and their sister Dot. I've never fed ducks French fries. Man, Animaniacs was such a good show. That show is amazing. Did Who Framed Roger Rabbit scare me as a kid? The scene where the scene where the bad guy gets like after he's been run over by the bulldozer or whatever it is, and like he gets up and he's like flat. That whole scene where he's revealed as a toon, that scared me. Jessica Rabbit, hot. Went to Chicago and fed pigeons my Pringles, and I felt like a criminal. Yeah, that whole scene where like he sort of gets up and he's flat and he starts sort of expanding again and just like his eyes pop. She made me sad, yeah. And I know a lot of people sort of refer to that as the scene that scarred them. But yeah. Maybe I might have watched. I feel like I watched that when I was a kid in school. Like I feel like we watched that one in class when I was still in elementary. Thoughts on Lorena Bobbitt? Uh, Frankly, I side with her. Isn't that a Burt movie? I think so. Maybe. I don't know. The animated one. Lorena Bobbitt. Lorena Bobbitt infamously cut off her husband's dick. But here's the thing. He was an abusive asshole who raped her. Like it was nope. Yeah, it was one of those things where it's like it was tabloid fodder for a long time. Comedians like spent months talking about it, like years after people would still be make reference to it. Um, Often used as sort of an example of you know look at this crazy woman, but she was an abuse victim. So like absolutely, I'm on her side. Fuck that asshole. I just find it. I'm just disappointed that he was able to get it reattached. And by the way, don't feel too bad for him. He got it reattached, and he went on to have a career in porn. He made a couple of porn movies. Wiki? I don't know what Wiki is. Yeah, he was in one or two. I think he was in two porn movies. There's like Frankenpenis, and I think there's one other. So yeah, he don't feel bad for him, because in addition to being just a garbage piece of shit, yeah, he ended up making money off the whole thing. I forget, did Bobby go to prison? Did Lorena go to prison? I forget. Alright, so yeah, Lorena was acquitted of assault. So lucky, so good for that. Police are sexist. Eh? Police are sexist in every case, basically, or at least damn near every case. So I'm just looking at some stuff about it. Thoughts on weed records? Didn't the police chief say he wouldn't piss him off? Couldn't tell you. So turns out that just sort of looking into what happened to them afterwards. John Wayne Bobbitt, 1999, received probation for his role in a theft at a store in Nevada. 2003, he was sentenced to prison for violating his probation after he was arrested on battery charges involving his then wife. He was again twice arrested on charges of battery against his wife in 2004. So, yeah. Asshole. Guy was an asshole. She was arrested, but she was acquitted. She was acquitted because of the fact that he was abusive. Electric cooker. I'm not actually sure now if I'm allowed to have an electric cooker. Is he in jail? No, not in jail right now. Actually, he's apparently severely injured himself, I guess, in 2014. Damage to his neck. How to cure meat. Well, you need to know a cure spell. We cure light wounds, cure medium wounds. You just need one of those. You just need a cure light wound spell is usually enough. Vegan? No, I can't go vegan. I don't have the willpower for that. I like meat. I like beef. I like meats. Never played Oblivion. Open world games just aren't for me. You ever meat? Beef. Pemmican with chocolate. It's like a beef brownie. Cool, cool. Yeah, like I've just never been able to get into big open world games. Like for open world games, I think the one that I like played the most was Fable, and even then, I only did like a few hours of it. Like even Fable, I didn't really get too far into it. So I kind of feel like having too much to do. Like it's just like it's there's too many options. There's too much you can do. So never played Crash Bandicoot. Sex stuff in it. Would I eat human meat? Probably not. Am I tired? Usually. Hey, action figure. Why not try and eat human meat? Because it is both illegal and unethical. And apparently not actually all that good. I feel like I read somewhere that the human meat actually isn't particularly good. Not nutritious. Oh no. I do not have the patience for a game like Elden Ring. Hey, Serial. Like, I don't have the patience to learn how to play it, to learn how to get good at a game. It's that simple. Like, any game that has a steep learning curve, pass. I don't want to invest my time in that. Give me something simple and straightforward. Give me like an old school JRPG, you know? Give me a Nintendo era JRPG, Chrono Trigger, Earthbound, one of the Final Fantasies from that era, you know? Hell, the easier the better as far as I'm concerned. Because most of the time, if I'm playing a game, what typically interests me is the narrative. Give me the narrative. Make it as make the game super easy. Give me the easiest fucking difficulty possible, so that I can just chill and enjoy the narrative. Paperboy. I did play Paperboy back in the day. Not much. I didn't play it much, and I wasn't very good at it. I was never able to get very far in it, so I don't really play it very much. Original Zeldas. Never played any of the original Zeldas. The first Zelda I played was Ocarina of Time on the Nintendo 64, which I loved. Zelda Ocarina of Time is, one of the absolute greatest games. That way, like the story game. Yeah, it's why visual novels appeal to me. There's no, you don't need to worry about reflexes. Steam? Yes, I do have Steam. It's like I don't have good reflexes, so Give me games that don't require reflexes. Visual novels work for me because you don't have to have reflexes for those. Hey, Bess. Enigma. No, never played ToeJam and Earl. I did have a Sega Genesis. I played very few games, like so few games on the Genesis. I much preferred the Super Nintendo. I did say old school JRPG. Elden Ring might be a Japanese RPG, but it's not an old school JRPG. No, I have not played the Colonel Sanders game. I will not play the Colonel Sanders game. I'm not buying some fucking game from a goddamn restaurant. No. I feel bad enough whenever I eat. I feel bad whenever I eat actual KFC. Like I feel bad enough whenever I eat KFC. Like I feel bad enough supporting KFC just when I eat their food. I'm gonna buy their fucking propaganda game. No, fuck that. Play a game for charity. Eh, might depend on the game, but probably not. I do not have any of my childhood consoles now. No. What was your request, Scapegoat? Well, I say one more time when I think I'll go live Monday, Tuesday. Uh, uh, Tomorrow I will probably go live, 7 or 8, 7 or 8 in the evening Eastern time. I'll go live tomorrow, Monday. Tuesday, 2:30 in the morning again. Ever buy a console lunch? Probably. I think so. Maybe. I feel like I maybe got the 64 at launch. Never played Portal. Yes, I have finished Mass Effect. I have not, T-Link. Yeah, just trying to think. Did I get the Nintendo 64 at launch, or was it or was it a couple months later? Pretty sure it was at least pretty soon after launch that I got the 64. Um, Other than that, no, never got a console at launch. I'm trying to think, but I don't think the. I'm pretty sure the Super Nintendo hadn't been out for too long when I bought it. That one I actually bought with my own. The Super Nintendo I bought with my own money. I think. Pretty sure. I haven't had it opened in my poor hole for days. Sad Satan, no. I didn't really play. I've never really played that many games. There aren't many games that I've actually played. But yeah, it was great. Well, then I guess I'm not a true fucking nerd. Yoshi's Island? Yes, I did play Yoshi's Island. It's the one with that is Yoshi's Island is the one with Baby Mario, right? Because I did play that one. It is a comic box. Generations was a this sort of this thing Marvel did like 2016 or something, maybe even earlier, like 2014 maybe. I don't know, 2016 maybe. I don't remember. 2017, 18. Maybe like 2017 or 2018. They did a thing. It's all comics I've read. Like these are all comics that I've read. Um, and decided that that I kept. Never seen Super Princess Peach. Pac-Man, I mean, bit of it, but it's like, again, I don't think I got very far in it. Oh, you mean the Generations thing? Uh, I mean, so what it was. So a few years back, Marvel had sort of done a bunch of legacy characters. So like they had Sam Wilson as Captain America, they had Jane Foster as Thor, they had Amadeus Cho was serving as the Hulk at that point. They had Laura Kinney was in her tenure was as Wolverine. So a bunch of their characters had been sort of temporarily replaced with legacy characters, mostly young and diverse. So a lot of women and a fair number of characters of color. So yeah, they were doing this thing where like a lot of their classic characters were sort of replaced with legacies who were women or characters of color. And so as part of it, they did this series of one-shots, which they called Generations, Marvel Generations. It was just the series of one-shots, focusing on the legacies, sort of giving a chance for highlighting the young characters interacting with the older ones who they're legacies of. And some of the issues were pretty good, some of them not so much. Like as I recall, the one for Iron Heart visiting with Iron Man, I recall that one not being particularly good. The one for Kate Bishop and Clint Barton as Hawkeye. The Hawkeye one, as I recall, being actually pretty fun. The Wolverine one, I recall actually being really fun. The Ms. Marvel one was really good. The Captain Marvel one, I think, was really good. Velma. Velma's cute. If you mean the show, I have not watched the show. Most of them I don't even really remember. But yeah, it was hey Polly. It was sort of like it was just sort of a mixed bag for the one shots. Also went to Marvel, but I played the Spider-Man games, the new one. Seems like a good game. the Spider-Man. I never played it. I did watch a Let's Play. I did watch Let's Plays of the Spider-Man games. Though, again, show the fucking... It's not a situation where I got kind of annoyed because, like, show where everything, like, show all the collectibles. I want to see all the fucking collectibles. Story of the games, if you watch the movies, the story is a little wacky. If you think the game story is wacky, you should read the comics. The stories in the comics are fucking wacky, which is a big part of what makes them so great. Favorite Spider-Man of the live action ones? Tom Holland. Yeah, I've read a lot of Spider-Man. Read, tons of Spider-Man. I think I've read most of it. I think I ended up reading most of his comics up to like 2004. They are, of course, a bit of a mixed bag at times. Some amazing stories, some straight up trash here and there. Cough, Clone Saga, cough. Or that one where Norman Osborn is involved in some weird ass fucking occult ritual. What the hell? Or the one where Aunt May is brought back from the dead and it's revealed that the Aunt May who died in a beautiful moment in the 90s was an actress in a plot that was orchestrated by Norman Osborn. It was fucking weird. I would disagree with that, Jen. There are differences. What I would say is older comics were able to tell longer stories. What I would say is in the 80s comics were allowed to tell longer stories. 60s and 70s comics, yeah, I mean, like each individual issue was longer than they are today. Comics did used to be longer than they are today, more pages. So they did have that going for them. Allowed them to sort of fit in just more content, just more story per issue. With modern comics, do tend to be written for the arc, written for the trade. So you get, issues that are stories that are sort of designed to play out over 5 or 6 issues, and then move on to the next story for 5 or 6 issues, and then the next story for 5 or 6 issues lasts that long, because there's no telling whether the comic will last long enough for multiple arcs, for multiple volumes. Just a typical. I think they're like $4 for a comic now, with some being 5. And occasional special issues will be like $10. No, I haven't bought a comic in forever. It's been a couple of years. Um, but anyway, yeah, back to what I was saying, like comparing like the old comics to new comics. So the uncertainty of modern comics definitely and definitely means writers are it definitely means creative teams tend to be except for specific series uh like Avengers can still do you know a big story that's set to be told over the course of 3, 4, 5 years. Nothing nice to say. No. So yeah, like a comic like the Avengers or like Amazing Spider-Man, they can be like, I'll get a story that's gonna take 5 years to tell. And that's how long it takes to tell. Um and they get the time to tell that story, even if it takes that long. Most series don't really have that liberty. They can't assume that they've got 5 years to tell a story. They can't assume that they've got a full year. They have to assume that, you know, will I get canceled after one? Will I get canceled after 5 issues? So they sort of have to be careful about their stories that way. Um, that said, I do think that in a lot of ways, modern comics do tend to have more mature storytelling than older comics. I mean, I love a lot of 80s. Like, there's a lot of 80s comics that I absolutely love. Uncanny X-Men. Claremont and all the artists he worked with on Uncanny X-Men, amazing. New Mutants, amazing. Um, did they not always kind of write around things like shows and series? Um, not quite. Like, are you asking like, do like for shows and series if they write around ending? It varies. Has wardrobe been empty since I moved? Because this is an office closet. I'm not going to hang my clothes in my office closet. I worry that if I close the door, the reflection will show into my bedroom. I've seen several examples of like cliffhangers resolutions for sakes of maybe we will revisit, maybe not. But I don't know. Yeah, I mean it varies. Traditionally, shows would know if they were going to get multiple seasons. So like a lot of like, but again, that's become less of a certain thing as well. So it's become fairly common for shows to end the story that they're telling over the course of the season while still leaving hooks for a potential next season. Yeah, it's that's sort of what they how they tend to do it. It's they'll leave plot hooks for in case they get another season, but they'll sort of wrap up the main story under the assumption that they don't get another season. That said, there are cases where they do know they will have another, where they know going in they will be getting another season, and they will um, sort of write accordingly. Do you see the current comics one? Like I said, a lot of what a lot of current comics do, accepting the biggest comics, Avengers, Spider-Man, Batman, yeah, the ones that doesn't even matter if the story is good, it's gonna sell. You know, like the comics where it doesn't even matter if it's good or bad, it sells because of the title. Those ones, basically, the writer, the creative teams get to decide, sort of, here's the story I want to tell, here's how long it's going to take. Awesome Green Lantern, not anyone I've ever cared about. Yeah, so the biggest titles. Here's the story, here's how long it'll take me to tell it. Most comics, though, yeah, they just have to go by arc. And yeah, it's same thing. They'll 5 or 6 issues to an arc, and they will tell a complete story within those 5 or 6 issues, while potentially laying out hooks for another arc if they get another 5 or 6 issues. Yeah. Well, no, like I'm talking about I'm talking about the big companies. For indie comics, it varies. Like for creator-owned stuff, it varies. But again, I mean, again, it's creator-owned. They have a lot more leeway. But like for Marvel or DC, honestly, for Marvel and DC, there's really only a few comics that get promised time, that get like guaranteed time. The Avengers, Superman, Amazing Spider-Man, Batman. It's the biggest of the biggest. Yeah, that's what I mean, Ben. The ones where like a writer will get to say, "Hey, here's my pitch. Here's how long this story will take." There's a bare handful of comics at each of the 2 big publishers, Marvel and DC. Like Marvel and DC each have a small number of comics where a writer, yes, I still have that customer service job, where a writer will be able to pitch for a 50 issue art, a 50 issue story. Have not worked overtime. Why are comics circling while manga is booming? A bunch of reasons. Like there's a lot of reasons for it, which I'll get to in a second. I just want to finish answering Vanna's question. Most of what Marvel and DC puts out are sort of smaller titles, where it is okay. You've got one arc. We'll see how it sells before we promise a second arc. You got 6 issues, or you got 12 issues. If it does well, then yeah, we'll continue for another 6 or 12 issues. For creator-owned comics, it's different because they don't really have. It's just a different thing, just because they can keep it going as long as they can, as long as they choose, basically. Is manga? Yeah, manga is comics. Manga are comics. I mean, manga means comics, I think. As far as the difference between comics and manga, part of it, honestly, volume 1. Volume 2, Volume 3, Volume 4, and so on and so on. With superhero comics, with Marvel and DC, I want to read Spider-Man. Okay. Which volume do you want? Well, I would assume I want to start with Volume 1. Okay, but is that Volume 1 of the original Amazing Spider-Man? Is that Volume 1 of the 2022? Volume 1 of the 2018 run? Like, which volume 1 do you want? Fuck this, I'm just gonna read One Hit Man or One Punch Man. Like that is definitely a big part of it. The fact that because of the way big two superhero comics sort of relaunch all the time, never read Death Note. Because of the way that big two superhero comics relaunch all the time, you get a bunch of different volume 1s. So, like, where do you start with Spider-Man? I mean, there's a lot of answers to where do you start with Spider-Man. I mean, like saying, well, just go back to the original. I mean, it's suggesting that people go back to the original comics from 1963. That's on Spider-Ham. It's fun. Spider-Ham's a fun idea. I read a couple of Spider-Ham comics as a kid. I think they were backups and something else. So yeah, like it's telling people to go back to the original comics from 1963. They feel dated, and the idea of doing that is going to feel daunting to a lot of people, because that's 60 years. We are now at 60 years that Amazing Spider-Man has been getting published. That's a lot of comics. And I mean, like, that's just Amazing Spider-Man. I mean, you factor in Sensational Spider-Man, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, Objectiveless Spider-Man. You factor in Marvel Team Up was basically a Spider-Man. It was just Spider-Man teaming up with various heroes. You factor in his time with various teams, his spin-offs, his minis, and all that. You think woke culture is harmful to comics? No, absolutely not. Comics have always been woke, or at least tried to be. Comics have always tried to be woke. Hey, Dolly. Superman's original villains were not Brainiac or Bizarro or whoever else. They were the wealthy. Slumlords and corrupt politicians. Superman was a power fantasy by a couple of poor Jewish kids. Is it true if you go woke, you go broke? No. Yeah, it was. there was a very clear message that rich people fucking suck. That was Yeah, that was pretty clearly the message of the early Superman comics. Fuck the rich. But I mean, beyond that, I mean, like, Black Panther was created specifically to have a black superhero who was, as smart as Reed Richards and able to fight the Fantastic Four to a standstill. Yeah, that was like deliberately. Jack Kirby was deliberately wanting to say, hey, we should introduce a black superhero who is not any sort of, who's not any sort of racist stereotype or anything like that. Oprah's awful. Yeah, I'm not a fan of Oprah, to be honest. Bruce Wayne or Tony Stark? I don't know. Depends on the needs of the story, I would suspect. Probably Tony Stark, but again, it probably depends really on the needs of the story. Yeah. I mean, I'd guess probably Tony Stark. Um, all the content being drenched in identity. Is identity politics back then as well? It's just that the identities tended to be white. Is representation for the sake of representation good? I don't really agree that that is really a thing. Like everyone is trying to make it good representation. Sorry, what's that? It's not because like manga is political as well. Like manga has tons of politics in it. I mean, it's not like queer manga isn't popular as well. Um, yeah, as far as like you can find plenty of manga. No, you can find plenty of manga where the politics, uh, where you don't notice the politics, where you're not aware of the politics. I would guess that they still have politics in them. People can see through forced diversity. But a forced lack of diversity never seems to bother anyone. And again, I mean, it's not like this is anything new. I mean, the all new, all different X-Men were created specifically to be diverse. The New Mutants, diversity was clearly something that was on the minds of Claremont and McLeod. I think McLeod? Change of race and well, I mean, they're not changing anyone's race. What they're doing is they're introducing well, I suppose DC does now and then whenever they do one of their reboots. But for the most part, they're not really changing characters' races. What they're doing is introducing legacies. So like they're having a character temporarily out of commission and being, again, temporarily replaced by somebody new, which not fucking new. Jim Rhodes was Iron Man back in the 80s. Marvel's original Captain Marvel from the 60s and 70s was a white dude. He died, and the mantle passed on to a black woman. So again, this is not anything new either, where a character is temporarily unable to fulfill their role and their identity is passed on to someone else. Hey, Daniel. The only difference is Marvel did a bunch of it all in a short time frame. And DC sort of as well, although I pay less attention to that. But it's always temporary. Can a white guy be the new Black Panther? What I would argue for that, first, there's 2 points I would argue for that. First of all, there is a difference between increasing representation of a marginalized community versus increasing representation of white guys. You know that it's different. Don't know if you've ever heard the analogy, but like you get a big bowl of Skittles. Yeah, you've got this big heaping mound of Skittles. And then this person over there has just like just a tiny number of Skittles. Somebody takes a couple Skittles out of your bowl and puts them into the other one. You still have a heaping mound of Skittles. If you take a Skittle away from the other guy, well, shit, he's got, it makes a lot bigger difference to him than a couple Skittles out of your bowl does to you. I think M&M's might actually be what's used in the analogy, but whatever. So, differences. Hey, Barney, there are differences in the amount of representation. Able-bodied, neurotypical, cis-het white men are extremely well represented in media, in fiction. Exceptionally well represented. People who fall outside of that group, you generally not so much. Going from 95% of representation to 94% of representation, stop fucking whining at that point, right? Like so that's the thing. So that's point one. Point two, the other argument I would make in regards to the what about a white guy as Black Panther? It'd be tough to pull off, but if you can make a good story about it, yeah, there's absolutely potential. You could absolutely. It just has to be a good story. In fact, fun fact, In the comics, Black Panther has a brother named Hunter, who is adopted. He's white. He's from another country. He is white. He is the White Wolf. Is the identity that he has. Usually an antagonist. He's generally antagonistic. But yeah, in the comics, there is actually a candidate if someone had the right story for a white guy to take on the mantle of the Black Panther. Was Red Skull? Oh no. Marvel's got quite a few Nazi villains. Red Skull is just the most prominent, but there are a few others. They had some comics set in World War II. Trolling someone who talked crap about trains. Oh, thank you, Lady MK. I appreciate that. Marvelous Hollywood woke and live. Thing is, Marvel Comics, Disney does not care about Marvel Comics. They care about Marvel Studios. But the comics division is a fucking rounding error in Disney's budget. Like, it is nothing. It is nothing to Disney. They don't give one shit what goes on in the comics division. They could get away with anything they want. As far as being worried about offending people, again, that's always been a concern. But if the right writer makes the right pitch, it's a story that theoretically could be told. They'd have to be very careful about it for obvious reasons. Yeah. Obviously, they'd have to be careful about it. Oh, I see tons of people complain when it's the other way around, Jen. A big reason that minority characters are not replaced with white characters is simply down to the fact that there are so fucking many white characters already. So, sorry, trying to think of one. Trying to think of a good example here. One thing that makes it hard to think of an example is so many of them use their actual Static Shock. like, you can't have a white person take on the role of Static Shock because there's just not that many prominent black superheroes. You might be able to get away with an Asian taking on Static Shock's legacy temporarily. That would be iffy just because Static Shock is, sort of prominent enough character. Wasn't Who's best friend gay, Anunnaki? Is it possible to just see a switch as a version of the canon? Get changed again, but I mean, when you're Static... Oh, couldn't tell you. I've never actually watched or read Static Shock. I can't eat my buns on Will. Not really. Nah. Just like doing it sort of that way. Sorry, Billy. Arm wrestling match? Probably. Maybe. But I haven't done it. I haven't arm wrestled since I was a kid, so I probably won one or two as a kid, but not many, I wouldn't think. One last bit on characters being changed. Another common complaint is characters being revealed as queer. That complaint is stupid. That complaint strikes me as genuinely homophobic, or at least, well, yeah, strikes me as genuinely homophobic because it doesn't understand how queerness works. People come out as gay at all ages. You need one straight for rep. That kind of describes the Young Avengers. Kate Bishop is kind of the token straighty on the Young Avengers. That said, it honestly feels like it's probably more realistic for a team to have like entirely queer rep than for it to be like two queer people with a bunch of straight people. But anyway, yeah. So like, this character's been straight for decades. Yeah. So he thought that this character thought he was straight for decades. Who's the straight friend of my group? I don't have friends, so hey Kelly. Hey Kermit. 1 a.m. BC. Yeah, Kermit, is just because I finish work at 2 a.m. Eastern time. Yeah, I just got off work 2 hours ago. But anyway, yeah, like people complained when like Iceman came out as gay. He's like, oh, he's never been shown as gay before. It's like, well, yeah, because he didn't realize. Because there are people that happens to. You would no, Jen. There are plenty of people who convince themselves that they're not, who hide it even from themselves. Am I not tired after work? Yeah, because it's 4 in the morning. I don't get tired at 4 in the morning. Like, there's plenty of people who like. It's like, no, I can't be gay. I'm definitely straight. Who spend decades convincing themselves that they're straight. That is absolutely a thing that happens. I feel like there's a lot of pandering. No more than at any other time. Comics have always pandered. Fiction has always pandered. The only difference is that they're trying to appeal to a larger group of people now. Is this considered fan service as we're going? It's okay. Comic audience demographic has changed. Yes, it used to be comic audience used to skew younger. Now it is people who were young who used to read comics when they were young, who've been reading comics for decades. Like that's another problem with the comic industry. It's had a lot of trouble picking up younger readers, and that's been a problem for 20 years, 30 years. Like, it's been a problem for 30 years. I would argue that comics have had a that sort of big two comics, that superhero comics, have had a harder time picking up younger readers since they went off the newsstand, since they switched to direct marketing. Hey, stuff. I think that what's happened is direct marketing with like comic shops. They don't have the same reach as the newsstand, as a grocery market, or as a grocery store, as a convenience store. Comics sort of leaving those spaces drastically limited their market. Independent comic book artists and comics are appearing as well, which is fantastic. It's like, and I mean, like that's phenomenal because it's leveling the playing field. It does mean that creators who would never be accepted at Marvel or DC are actually able to get their work out there and get careers out of it. Specialized stores not significant for comic sales. I mean, it's what it did. It meant that returns stopped being a thing. Because when they were going to grocery stores and convenience stores and things like that, it generally is set up so that if a comic didn't sell, tear the cover off, return it for a refund. Comic shops didn't really have that option. So with a comic shop, they know exactly, they sort of have to predict how many copies of a given issue they're going to sell and order that many copies. It does mean that the publishers know exactly how many issues they're selling, how much money they're making. So it is in a lot of ways safer. It's very much safer for the publishers. But I think it does also greatly limit their exposure. You know, because some kid going to the grocery store with their mom, they don't now they can't, you know, walk into the magazine section and be attracted by interesting looking cover for the newest X-Men comic. It's that is not really a thing anymore. It's become aimed at libraries do usually have comics. Yes, libraries do have comics. So that's become, I think that has sort of limited the growth opportunity of comics. It's made it that much harder for comic exclusive publishers to attract new readers. And, you know, a lot of older readers, like myself, end up just falling away from comics. Niche audience. They are. That is, yeah, it's marketed to a niche audience. Printing is too expensive now to print comics that may not sell. There is that. Now, having said all this, the reality is the comic industry is actually doing pretty well. Even Marvel and DC, they're still profitable. Marvel and DC are still profitable. Their profits are too small to mean anything to their parent companies. Disney and Warner, it's like you said, it's Marvel Comics and DC Comics, they're a rounding error as far as Marvel and Warner, Disney and Warner are concerned. Hey, AsJ. But they're still profitable. Sales are still steady. They've still got the digital market. We don't really know how they're doing in the digital market, but they seem to be doing pretty okay in digital sales from what information is available. And there are prose publishers who are publishing comics. Hey, West Coast Glass. No, this was published by Scholastic. Scholastic publishes this because they know it'll sell. Because they know that comic books, they can still make money from comic books. Penguin does comics. Penguin publishes graphic novels. They still, all those prose publishers see money to be made in comics. And as was mentioned earlier, online comics, web comics. People are able to make a living. There are people able to make a living off their silly little web comics. They're able to put out published editions of their comics, crowdfund on Kickstarter to put out print editions of their comics. So it's the comic book industry is still doing well. Hey, plain cheeseburger. It doesn't have the sales of manga, but manga has a lot of advantages. It's got ease of access because it's volume 1, volume 2, volume 3. You don't need to know which volume you're looking for. It's got a wide variety of genres. You know, Marvel and DC are superheroes. That's it. That's all. That's the only thing Marvel and DC do. Manga is everything, every genre. There are differences in how manga. There are differences in how a lot of manga is actually produced, how it's actually created through the use of underpaid sort of background artists to do backgrounds and draw rubble and shit like that. So they're able to put out a significantly greater output than Western artists, where it tends to be, you know, a one-line artist who may or may not do his own inking, color artist, and that's it. And that's the art. With a lot of manga, you'll get, you know, the artist who's credited, who just kind of does. Well, manga is just the Japanese word for comics. So, like, you know, with a manga artist, like with a manga, you might get the, you know, the credited artist who does sort of, who might draw the whole thing himself, or who may just do layouts and who has a staff who fills in a lot of the details, who draws in backgrounds, who draw rubble. It varies from artist to artist, but some of them, yeah, they'll have a team who does a lot of the art without getting credit and who are grossly underpaid. And uncolored, black and white. That absolutely saves time. So they're able to put out a greater output than a Western artist is able to do. Lady MK, as far as I'm aware, mods are not able to block each other. I mean, like, maybe personal blocks, but black and white is better for the environment. I mean, I don't really know about that part of it. That's, you know, that I can't comment on. But definitely saves time. So, manga's just got a lot of differences from Western comics that just make it just make it easier. Again, it's not that it's better, it's that it's different. The numbers speak for themselves. I mean, like I said, it's got their characteristics to manga that make it more popular, that make it more accessible, I think. Manga art style is insane. Yeah, and it has been for a long time. People do love the art of the art style for manga. There's a lot of people who think that all Western comics have the same art style, which sucks because there's so many different artists. Like there's so many. Like there are Western artists who have manga artists. Oh, there are Western artists who have like just absolutely incredible art styles. Corral. Don't think there is one in Cornwall. Japanese take on Frank Frazetta. I just like really express. Like I like expressive art. Golden Retriever, no. Yeah, I like when the art like really conveys mood and tone and feeling. I find Emma Rios is really good for that. I find Meredith McLaren is actually really good for that. It's a very like it's a very unconventional style she's got, but it's very good at conveying tone, like conveying mood. What are my thoughts on Van Bodie? That I don't really know. Him, I don't really know. Do I think pit bulls are more dangerous than the other dog breeds? No. No. Pit bulls. My understanding is that pit bulls, by nature, are absolute sweethearts. But they tend to be people who want violent dogs, or like people who want to train their dogs to be violent, will often get pit bulls and then train them to be violent, to be dangerous. But it's the owner, not the dog. Exactly. Exactly, Jen. It's not the dog. It's the type of people that typically have dogs. Yeah. Like Michael Vick. Yeah. Yeah. It's the people who want to make their dog dangerous gravitate towards pit bulls. But pit bulls themselves are just complete sweethearts. Two pitties who are big old cuddle babies. Yeah. People who own pit bulls are more dangerous. Again, no. It's that dangerous people gravitate towards pit bulls. But so do a lot of other people. A lot of people love pit bulls because of their sweet and gentle nature. Why would they gravitate towards them? I don't know. Powerful bite. Um, bear in mind, I don't really like, bear in mind with all this, I don't really like dogs. I was looking at, I was trying to look at, to read up on pit bulls on Wikipedia. See, I don't even really like dogs, so I don't really read that much about dogs. I'm just sort of going by what I have heard. Anyway, it has been 2 hours and it's 4:30 in the morning. So I'm gonna end the stream here. Away from comics and into me leaving. Anyway, I'll be back in like 17, 18 hours. All right. 15 or I'll be back in 15 or 16. Yeah, I'll be back in like 15 or 16 hours. So thanks for coming. And all right. I need to remember that we're doing Mad Libs tomorrow. We're doing Mad Libs later. If I remember. But anyway, good night, everybody.